Hey guys, welcome back to more political chatter. Today we will be talking about the state of the 2028 Democratic primary and how we have a new top tier contender completely out of the blue, Cory Booker, following his filibuster, his record breaking filibuster that is now the longest ever filibuster that lasted 25 hours longer than Strom Thurmond's 24 hours opposing the Civil Rights Act of 1957. So this is it really speaks volume to what the Democratic Party wants. Cory Booker gives one single speech and boom, he adds 9 percentage points to his primary polling average to put him at 11%. In the March poll before his filibuster, he was at 2%. Since then, that speech alone added 9 points to his name. Now, before we get into this video, I do want to give a shout out to today's sponsor for this video, Turn Left Merchandise. Once again, they sell leftist, progressive, anti-Trump merch, apparel, accessories, etc., sweatshirts, shirts. These can get really funny sometimes. Some of them are really clever, like this, or oh, that's a good one. First Lady Trump and President Musk. But I'll put the link to Turn Left merch in the description and the comments, so y'all can find it very easily. So check that out if that's something you would be interested in. But going back to this news about Cory Booker, let's take a look at this primary poll in general. This is from Equal Insights, nationwide poll, 450 respondents. So Kamala Harris has the lead, but she is crashing. Since March, she has, which is just a month ago, she has fell by 5 percentage points nationwide, only at 28%. Only at 28%. I remember, not too long ago, she was at 40, 50% in some polls. She is now at just 28%. So we are moving out of this. It used to be this state of the race of the 2028 race where we said it is Kamala Harris's nomination if she wants it. Meaning, if she runs, she will win it easily. It's hers for the taking. But that is if she did run. Now, that is not the case. She would be favored looking at these numbers. She's ahead of the second place candidate by a 17 percentage points, but the election is in 3 years. The primary is in like 2.5 years. So she is not in a good place right now. She is absolutely breakable. And look at Cory Booker. He takes second place, surges 9 points from March, is now at 11%. Pete Buttigieg falls 3 points, is now at 7. AOC continues to perform strong at 7%, tying Buttigieg for third. She is one to watch. If she runs, she will be a major contender. For some reason, people don't treat her like she is, but I mean, she's ahead of Gavin Newsom, she's ahead of Josh Shapiro, she's ahead of Gretchen Whitmer. That is big. We'll just go briefly through the rest of these. Tim Walz at 5%. Gavin Newsom, 4%. Absolutely horrible for being the governor of the biggest state in the country. Jasmine Crockett continues to perform well. Josh Shapiro continues to perform very poorly despite being a so-called top-tier candidate for 2028. 3%, as well as Gretchen Whitmer. She has also been doing poorly. JB Pritzker at 3. And look at Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart is now on the rise from 1% in the last poll to now 3% in March. If he runs, he will make waves. That I can tell you. Wes Moore at 2, Andy Beshear at 1, and Stephen A. Smith at 1, the Democrat in name only, who is basically a Republican. I'm very glad to see that. I hope he sees these numbers and realizes he has no shot of winning. So that is where things stand right now. But that Cory Booker number is really amazing because, we have a new 2028 contender. That is the situation. In 2020, he did not perform very well at all. You can see he was once up there in terms of the top tier candidates, but he really fell off. He dropped out before a single primary ballot was cast. He suspended his campaign after numerous debates. He was just not able to make a dent in the race from Biden, from Warren, from Bernie, from Pete Buttigieg, from Bloomberg. He just could not make a dent. So he dropped out on January 13th before the Iowa caucus, before any race. But that is notable, I think, the fact that Iowa came first, because he was never going to do well in Iowa. Cory Booker is someone who would turn out the older MSNBC resist libs. and African Americans in general, men, women, old, young. I think Cory Booker would do very well among African American voters as an African American himself, and maybe other racial minorities like Latinos, maybe Asians, who knows. But he would build an odd coalition of older white women and, these racial minority voters. So when you looked at 2020, where you had the Iowa caucus as the first state, and then New Hampshire as your second state, Cory Booker's base of support, it just was not fit for these early primary states. But that has changed. As of now, this could change. But as of now, the party is going to keep the 2024 schedule, meaning South Carolina is going to come first, and then on the same day after that is New Hampshire and Nevada. Nevada also being a very diverse state. But of course, South Carolina, famous for saving Biden's 2020 campaign, right? That coalition of diverse, primarily African American voters, that is what saved Biden's campaign. Cory Booker would perform even better among them, likely. Well, I shouldn't say that, because we don't know who's going to run, right? We don't know who would split the vote with him, but he will be a top tier contender among African American voters. And you've got South Carolina as the first state. It is a what's the word? A potion, or not a potion, formula. It is a formula perfect. The primary is a formula perfect for someone like Cory Booker to be able to come out as a top tier contender in the 2028 race. So he is one to watch going forward. He is, and as I said, it speaks volume because keep in mind, Cory Booker rose 9 points from March. Why? Because of the filibuster. It's so obvious. Democrats just want a fighter. That is all Democrats want. Democrats just want someone, not like Chuck Schumer, right? Not like Dick Durbin or Steny Hoyer or Nancy Pelosi. These do nothing career politicians who are going to die in the next few years, who, are too lazy to actually fight, who are too, old and weak and incapable of giving a 25-hour speech like Cory Booker. Democrats just want figures like Cory Booker to rise up and show their opposition, show that there is a strong opposition to what many people view as this authoritarian regime takeover. That is all Democrats want at this moment, and Cory Booker gave it to them. Why is Kamala Harris falling? What has she been doing? Think about it. She has been doing nothing. She gave one speech at some actors award, at some elitist actors ceremony. I forget what it was. She doesn't do anything related to actual politics, and she said, "I told you so" on the speech. That doesn't help. Meanwhile, you've got Tim Walz giving town halls, touring the nation. You've got Cory Booker giving a 25-hour speech on the Senate floor. You've got Bernie Sanders and AOC also touring the nation like Walls, drawing in massive crowds, bigger than they have ever seen before, let alone someone like Biden has seen before. You've got even Beto O'Rourke coming out to rally Democrats in Texas, a state that they did awful in 2024, state that they don't have any hope of winning in future elections in the near future, 2026, 28, 32. You even have Beto O'Rourke coming out, the three-time failed candidate, to try to do something. So the people who are doing something are rising. Cory Booker, AOC and Walls at 13 or at 12% combined. AOC at 7% as what, 35-year-old? That is insane. That is so incredible. Tim Walz at 5 as a losing VP candidate. And look, all the people who do nothing except whine and start podcasts where they have conservative guests on, Gavin Newsom falling, Pete Buttigieg falling, Kamala Harris falling, Booker rising, AOC and Walz, I guess no change, but still very impressive numbers. Shapiro 3, Whitmer 3, Pritzker 3, because they're not doing anything. Jasmine Crockett surprising expectations. Why? Because she is actually pushing back in a very publicized way. Jon Stewart in a very notable, public, very widespread way in his daily his segments on the Daily Show get like 5, 10, 15, 20 million views on YouTube sometimes. Just such a famous figure when it comes to politics today. The people who are actually doing something are surprising and exceeding expectations. Democrats just want someone who will fight, and we are seeing that that is very reflective in the polling for the current 2028 election. So that's where things stand right now. I appreciate you all watching this video. This is a really stunning new poll. Yeah, here's the John Stewart account. I wonder, I don't know, I assume the 3% isn't coming from him, but as you can see, John Stewart is on the rise. The people who are actually doing something are on the rise. So thank you all for watching this video. If you all enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe below. That would help out a lot. Comment what your thoughts on this are. Drop a like. Visit turnleftmerch.com. I'll link that in the description and comments, and I'll see you all later.